Hello everyone and welcome to another video of Elite Dangerous with RunGB. Today we are going to take a look at combat, and combat as such. I'm not going to give you hints on how to outfit your ship, that will come in later videos. I won't tell you where to hunt, that will come in later videos as well, but for the purpose of watching what I'm going to use is pretty much an A-rated Eagle. With a little bit of cargo here and B-Whip Seal generator. Again, this is in Horizon Beta. Using one multi-cannon gimbal, two fixed burst lasers, and a killborn scanner. Um, this is again going to be a video about hints on combat. How to fly, tips about power management during combat, maneuvering using the 6 degrees of freedom you have. So, well, we'll get that done, and after you see this video, hopefully you know a little bit more about combat than, well, before you started watching this video. So, see you when the action begins. First, we are going to see what the instrument panel tells you. In the center, right in the middle, there's a scanner. It's very important that you look at that a lot. Gives you bearings on different contacts and gives you relative position to them. You will see it in action as the fight goes by. It's pretty intuitive. I don't think it really requires a lot of explanation. Second is, just to the top of the scanner and to the left, there's a smaller circle with a dot in the middle. That's the compass. I explained it in another videos, but basically, and that's your navigation thing. You want to be heading towards the dot in that compass when you are navigating to a reference point, a nav buoy, station, etc. During combat it's not really used because when you target an enemy ship the compass doesn't track it, but even then it's good to keep reference on your position relative to maybe, for instance in this case, the resource extraction site main point. You always want to know where you are relative to a certain point because sometimes you might want to, well, head that way or away from that point for whatever reason. Immediately to the left, you will see a representation of the whatever you have targeted. In this case, it's an eagle, and you will see the details of its shield status, its attitude, whether it's maneuvering or not. It's always towards you. So in this case, I have it targeted. It's moving, as you can see, it's a plan for view. It's moving upwards to the left, and it comes so in the image. You can see the status of the shields and the status of the hull. Just to the left of it, you will see the ship scanner results. When you target an enemy ship or station or whatever, you aim towards that position. After a while, it will scan. It will take some time to scan a ship. And you will see the name of the pilot, its combat rating, in this case is an expert, whether it's clean or wanted, in this case is wanted, and the minor faction or major faction it works for. In case of players, it will be the power play side it's aligned with. Of course, can be unaligned, and then there will be nothing there. Just below the compass and just to the left of the scanner, you will see the temperature gauge. That's the scale that measures the temperature in your spaceship. Once it goes over 100%, you will start taking damage. Usually there's not a big trouble with temperature unless you are moving very close to a sun or you are firing very heat intensive weapons like railguns, plasma accelerators, that kind of stuff. But now and then you might want to use silent running. You are going to see an instance of that in this video, by the way. And silent running, what it does, it closes down the radiator so you don't radiate heat to the environment, and no one can track you because of your heat signature. Of course, if you close your radiators, whatever heat the ship is producing is stored within, and once past a certain point, it starts damaging your ship. So it's worth taking a look at that scale, making sure that you never go over 100%. Also, there's another thing, and we'll talk about it later, about your signature strength, which is related with your heat, but we will come that in a second. Immediately to the right of the scanner, you can see the speed measurement, the speed scale, so to speak. As you can see, there's a little blue tinted zone uh, in the middle. Now that's the speed measurement. And if you are putting your power setting just on the middle in the blue zone, then you will be in your sweet spot for the best turn rate and turn radius. If you are too slow, you won't turn as well. If you are too fast, you won't turn as well. So while you are maneuvering very closely or very tightly, you want to keep that um, speed in the blue area as much as you can. Of course, that's only important when you are trying to pitch up or down or yaw left and right. We'll see that in combat in motion, but for the most part, remember that when you are in the blue zone is where you are when you are at the best maneuvering abilities. Immediately to the right, you see an image of your own ship, your sail status, and your hull status, very similar to when you are targeting an enemy ship. Moving further to the right, you see the power settings. Now there are three: SYS for systems, ENG for engines, and WEP for weapons. Now the effects of these power settings are really important, and I'm going to try to describe them briefly but accurately. If you put, well, first of all, you can see, in this case, you can see below ENG there are four little dots or pips, and below web or weapons there are two little dots or pips. Now, at any given point, you have a given amount of energy that you can distribute between systems, engines, and weapons. You can put 0 pips, 1 pip, 2 pips, 3 pips, or 4 pips. Of course, the more pips you assign to a given system, the less you can allocate to the rest. For instance, in this case, I have 4 pips to the engines, to the two weapons, none to systems. Just over the pips, you can see the capacitor. That's the amount of energy you have stored in your batteries for that system. In this case, for instance, you can see I have full battery power for the systems, I have full battery power for the engine, and I'm roughly in the middle for weapons. Systems draws engine from the capacitor to recharge your seals. If you are at full seals, you don't have to recharge them. Whatever energy is stored in there will remain there until you start needing it. It's automatic, of course. You don't have to take care of that. Engine, well, the capacitor is drained each time you use the boost of your ship. When you boost, you take a lot of that energy away to boost your ship. And weapons, of course, when you are shooting weapons, you are taking power from that capacitor. Now, what the pips do is twofold. First, it ensures that you are recharging that system. The more pips you have, the faster it will recharge, and the faster you will get energy in your capacitor. But second, and more importantly, the more pips you put in a given attribute, be systems or engines, the stronger they are. There's no benefit to put 4 pips to weapons other than they recharge faster. But if you put 4 pips to systems, for instance, your shields will be much stronger than if you have no pips in shields. Okay? Also, if you put 4 pips in engines, your ship will maneuver much better, will be faster in a turn, will be able to reach higher speeds. So, while distributing your power, you need to know what you are doing and in which situation you are. If you are in the defensive, you need a lot of power in your systems because you are taking fire, and the higher system pips you have, the more damage your shield will be able to take. But also you want to have some in engines because of course you want to be maneuvering and trying to avoid enemy fire. And if you are at 0 pips, your ship doesn't maneuver as well. If you are in the offensive, however, it kind of depends a little bit. If you are against a bigger ship, which can't maneuver as good as you, really the most important thing is to remain behind him and fire as much as you can, of course, but the most important thing is to remain behind him. So usually you want 4 pips in engines and 2 weapons. as you can see, is exactly the setup I have right now. If you're against more maneuverable ships, it's even more important to have full pips to engines because you want to maneuver better than them. So it's kind of a thing. You have to swap a lot between engines and weapons and systems all the time between, depending on what you need. If you need your seals, systems. If you are maneuvering in a fight, you will have to vary a lot your power settings between the engines and the weapons. Of course, weapons you only really need when your capacitor is drained. If it's full, maybe you can do with a couple pips on weapons. Again, you are going to see me using power distribution during fights, and we are going to look at that a little more in detail as we go by. So again, this is very important. This is probably the most important thing in the whole thing of combat in the game. How to manage your power settings and power distributor. The power distributor is the most important asset of a ship. Really, I can't stress this enough. Moving on. To the right, you will see, well, the mass lock warning, the landing gear warning, and the cargo scoop warning. You are not going to use those in combat. You also have the fuel status, which also is not really important in combat unless you are really, really low in fuel. But then again, if you are very low in fuel, you shouldn't be fighting. But just above the fuel, you see kind of a garbled line, which is kind of I don't know. It's You will see it in motion later, but that's very important. That's your signal strength. Now, remember before when we were talking about your heat and that you radiate energy to the space. Now, the higher your heat meter is, the more hot your ship is, and the more it radiates to space, so it becomes easier to spot. Okay? If it's at very low heat numbers, at 20% for instance, you are almost undetectable. At 50% you are more or less in the middle. Over 60% everyone will see you. Now, the stronger your signal, the farther you're going to pop up in enemy scanners. This is really important because if you are not radiating, nothing will detect you unless it's closer than 1 kilometer from you. And that's with top class sensors. With crappy sensors, it might be as close as 500 meters before you pop in the scanner. It's really important in that sense because it doesn't really work with NPCs, but it does work with NPCs. You will see an instance of that later. So it's really important to keep track of those two because if you are radiating a big signal, you will be like everyone will see you. But if you are very low, you will be hard to track. And if you are in silent running, you are simply not radiating anything. You really need to be very close to the enemies for him to be able to track you. Of course, he still can see you, but he won't see you in the scanner. He won't be able to lock on you, which is really important because it works very well against gimbal weapons, for instance, because a gimbal function only works on locked targets. Of course, a gimbal weapon can still fire when unlocked. It's like fire a fixed weapon, but it won't be able to track you. So yeah, it's really useful. Of course, I mean, really, the heat parameters and the signal parameters are not really that important unless you are using a stealthy build or you are trying to run away. You will see a perfect instance of that because I did it on purpose for that in this video. Anyway, let's analyze our first fight. Okay, to begin with, we will see the complete fight and then we will analyze it in detail. Okay, let's analyze it a little bit. The first thing you want to know is that, of course, you want to be in a position of advantage if you can before beginning a fight. So the first thing I do is to leave the guy past me, and I come right on his six, and from then I keep on tracking him and shooting at him. This enemy is very maneuverable, so I'm using a full engine pips and only two on weapons, and I will switch on that depending on the situation at hand. Okay, so fight has started. So far I only have been tracking him, shooting at him when I could, but now he moves out of the way and he's trying to get rid of me by doing a busting turn. Instead of following him, I will throttle down, wait a little, and then boost right behind him to follow him in a pure pursuit. So he has won a little bit of separation, and now he's going to turn to face me. So what I'm going to do is to cross him head on and then do a boost turn to follow him. When you use boost, you don't only increase your engine power, you also increase your thrusters ability. That means that you can turn much closer, and that also means that you can translate if you are using lateral or vertical thrust much faster than what you usually do. The trade-off is that once you are done with the boosting and the boost bonus is gone, you are at top speed, so you are out of the blue. So for a little while after you end up your boost turn, you will be very restricted in pitching abilities. So what I'm going to do is boost behind him, and once the boost turn is over, I will try to corkscrew around him because I know I won't be able to purely track him because of my reduced pitching ability. You will see that in motion in a second. It will be more or less clear after you see it. There you go. As you see, once my boost turn was over, I wasn't able to track him by purely pitching towards him. Also, he was a little bit slower than me, so I was running the risk of overtaking him. So to avoid that, I used a mix of pitch up plus lateral thruster towards the right to kind of do a corkscrew around him and avoid overtaking him. Now, one very important lesson about this. When you are looking at the speed meter right now, it says 111 speed. Okay, that's the total displacement of your ship. That means you are not moving 111 meters per second forward. If you have a lateral component, that is also factored in. So 111 doesn't mean that you are moving forward at 111. It might be a lot less than that, but you are moving off axis at a very high speed. Why is this important? Well, this is important because being in the blue is very important to pitch up and down and yaw left and right as fast as possible. But you can't do that while barely moving forward and keep your maximum ability to pitch while keeping the distance towards the enemy. How? By using vertical or lateral thrusters. That's very important, and at first it sounds a little bit complicated, but once you start doing it, it comes just natural to you. Another very important aspect of combat. If you just saw what I did, I was directly behind the enemy. Well, the enemy was giving me a very slim profile. So what I did was to use vertical thruster to move over him and then pitch down to track him. That way I get a perfect plan for shot. As you see, this is a much bigger target than what he was giving me a second ago. So use your thrusters to move left, right, up, down, whatever, to maximize your target area. In this case, as you see, well, I moved upwards. Now I'm over him, and now I'm going to try to track him with vertical thruster and pitching up to keep track on his movement. Here you see me do the first power management change in the fight. My capacitor for weapons is dry, so I change to full weapon pips. I will change back to engine if I need to, well, the little extra maneuverability to keep behind him. But now I'm at full pips to weapons to recharge the lasers as fast as possible. Okay, the enemy shields are drained, they are completely gone, and now I stop firing my fixed burst lasers and I start using my multi-cannon. Multi-cannons are projectile weapons, and projectile weapons in Elite Dangerous do less damage than usual to the shields, but they do full damage against hull. Meanwhile, the lasers, the thermic weapons, do full damage against shields. Actually, they have a bonus against shields, but they do less than normal against hull.
Target shields offline.
Okay, here is an instance of what I explained before. As you can see, my power setting is at 0%, but I still have speed. Why do I have that speed if I have 0 in power? Well, that's because I'm manually using my vertical thrusters to keep position with him. I'm not tracking him by pitching up and moving behind him. He's moving upwards from my point of view, and I'm moving accordingly with him using my vertical thrusters to keep position, and I keep on firing from that position. Of course, also note that my speed is very close to the blue, so if I, by any means, I need to start pitching up, I will be able to do so very quickly. So yeah, remember that vertical and horizontal thrusters are really, really important in combat. And as he keeps on moving in the same axis, I keep on moving vertical and tracking him, and well, he's done. Okay, this is going to be a very long fight because, of course, Nigel doesn't have the most powerful weapons. It took a while to bring this guy down, and actually some NPCs actually engaged my target, but I would have killed him anyway. What I'm going to do in this combat, and I will stop it at several times, of course, to, well, clarify some points. Well, I'm going to try to keep behind him and over and under him as much as possible. The important thing with big ships is know if they have turrets or not. If they don't have turrets, you only need to keep out of his front quarters, because even with gimbal weapons, well, there's a restricted arc they can fire on. This was the case. This Python only had gimbal weapons, he didn't have any turrets. So in this case, well, you only want to keep over, under, sides, or behind him, and that will be perfectly safe. However, with more complicated enemies with turrets, that's not enough. Usually against those enemies you need chaff. If you don't have chaff, don't go against those ships. Really, don't. In a small ship, you are going to get toast most of the time. And even with chaff, you need to keep your position behind the enemy as much as possible, because usually just behind the enemy is the only position where the turrets don't reach. It's much more complicated, but still, well, this is a Python, and a master Python, and I'm a mostly harmless eagle. So this wasn't the most easy target to go against, even while it might seem, because I was keeping out of his arcs of fire all the time. Again, it's all about maneuvering. You have the maneuvering, he has the firepower. Keep out of his arcs of fire, avoid his fire, and you will be golden. Let's take a look at the fight, and I will be commenting in the most important parts. To begin with, you will see me using a lot of lateral vertical thrusters to keep position with him, and to keep him centered on my sides. As this is not as a maneuvering target, I have only 2 pips to engines and 4 to weapons, because with 2 pips to engines I have more than enough to outmaneuver him. Also, you can see I'm almost stopped, and I'm only accelerating towards him when he moves away. I don't want to be too close to him, I don't want to be too far away from him. When I'm far, I accelerate at top speed, and as I move closer, I will decelerate. Now he's out of shields, and I start using my cannon mixed with my burst lasers as well. Again, moving too close, I slow down, I use vertical thruster to move towards his rear side, keep position, accelerate again as he moves away, and then start tracking him by using vertical thrusters. He moves away, I accelerate, he moves closer, I decelerate, I keep position on that vertical side all the time. Now he's going to face me, so what I do is to pass him and get on his rear. Always try to stay out of his arcs of fire all the time. If he starts to face you, accelerate towards him, go past him, turn towards his rear. As you can see, I have some NPC help here, but even so he's not firing at me because he can't get me in his front quarters. But even then, now and then you will be get like this in front of him, then go past him, flight assist off, boost turn, flight assist on. Now I'm going to stop this for a second here, and I'm going to put this sequence again so you can see the boost assist turn again, the flight assist off turn. Now flight assist off, what it does is essentially Newtonian physics rule you. If you start rolling, nothing will stop you rolling unless you roll opposite. If you start pushing and pitching up, nothing will stop your pitching motion until you stop it yourself. Now you can use this for your advantage because, as I told you before, as you are boosting, while you are boosting, your thrusters are much more powerful. So your pitching speed is much faster. So if you go flight assist off, boost, pitch up, your pitching speed will be incredible, and it won't stop unless you stop it yourself. Of course, if you use it to do a fast pitching motion to keep track of an enemy you just got past, you can do a 180 almost instant turnaround, then engage flight assist on again, so you are facing towards the enemy, and at this point you will be moving backwards while aiming at the enemy. You boost again after you put flight assist on, you use full thrusters to stop your motion away from him and to come at him again. So that's a very, very, very good way to do a very fast, very drastic turn. Of course, it depends on your engine power. If you don't have enough power in your engine, you won't be able to boost. So, and also an Eagle doesn't have a very big capacitor. You can't boost 2 times in a row in a very fast sequence. You need to wait a little bit. So it's in bigger ships like the Vulture is much easier with bigger power distributors. But even then, in small ships, it works very well. So let's see at the sequence again so you can see the full boost assist turn with flight assist off.
Flight assist off. Flight assist on. Target shields online. Target shields offline. Target destroyed.
Now right here, I'm trailing 3 enemies in a wing. Never do what I'm about to do because you will get toast. Really, trust me. And never attack more than 2 enemies if you don't know what you are doing and if you aren't in a much better ship than theirs, because otherwise they are going to utterly destroy you. So I fire away, and you will be soon seeing what happens when you do that kind of stupid thing.
Shields offline.
Yep, that's exactly what happens. You target one of them, you try to bring him down, and the other 2 come for you and they massacre you. Now, what do you do if you are in this kind of deep ship? Because this is the deepest pool of ship you will be getting on. If you try to focus and keep on fighting, they are going to destroy you. Unless you are in a much better ship, of course, you have shield cell banks, you have incredibly powerful hull armor and whatever. This ship doesn't have it. This ship is super flimsy. You hit it, you look at it bad, and it's going to explode if it has no shields. So I obviously I did this just for the sake of this video. I'm not mad. I wouldn't do this in a normal combat. So well, yeah. The thing is, we are in this kind of deep trouble. We have three guys on us. I'm already fighting at one of them. Actually, one of them is almost dead. Okay, the guy who I was targeting was almost dead. I was shooting at his hull, and he was almost dead. But the second my seals went offline, I didn't care he was close to dying or not. At that moment, it's instant move to survive. Well, what's the move to survive? There are a lot of misconceptions here and a lot of mistakes. People tend to use full pips on seals when they are without seals. Now that's not good. Why isn't good? Well, because the seals take a while to regenerate, and while they regenerate, they are taking energy from the capacitor. But you don't have to have 4 pips on seals. Why? Because 4 pips on seals help your seals be stronger, but they don't help at all if you have no shields. Instead, what I use is full pips to engines, none to weapons because I'm not fighting, and a couple of them to seals to help them regenerate as fast as I can. And in the meantime, I just get the hell out of there by using boost as much as I can. I will also do another trick which you will be able to see as I'm doing it, and I will comment on it as well. In the meantime, well, let's take a look at how do I escape this very serious situation.
Under attack.
Well, the first move, as I said, is putting full pips on engine and trying to boost away as much as I can. The next thing I do is to go silent running. And as you will see, my hit meter starts escalating a lot. But given my separation from the enemy, which is 2.5 kilometers, they can't lock on me. They can fire at me because they can't see me, but they can't lock at me. And a lot of NPCs use gimbal weapons, so that reduces their aim ability a lot. Also, they seem to be firing missiles, but when they lose the lock, they will have trouble keeping the lock on the missiles. So I go silent running. When my hit starts mounting up,
Taking heat damage.
I am over 100%, I open my vents again, I drop some heat, and once I'm safe enough, I keep on boosting, and I will come back to silent running if I need to. But in the meantime, I have won almost 3 kilometers and a half of separation. This is enough to jump away, or at least it would be enough if I was out of the asteroid field. I'm not. I'm mass locked by the asteroid field. But in this case, I would only try to keep on moving, but by going out of the asteroid field and jumping away. And then back to base, back to repair, whatever you need to do. Yeah, as you can see, mixing up a little bit of silent running while we are moving away. Also using as much engine as you can. And as you can see now, I'm actually using 3 pips to systems instead of just 2, because I already have enough separation and I can increase the rate at which the seals are recharging. So yeah, that's the way you move away from a very, very serious situation. This time it's an enemy other. The other is a pretty maneuverable ship. It's not the fastest round, but it's pretty maneuverable and it's pretty tough. At least for small weapons like the ones in the Eagle. Again, I will be commenting in the most important points. First is first, I move behind him and I engage from there. Now I want to be very careful I don't go past him. So you will see me not following his boost turns, but instead just trying to keep a decent distance and from there just fire at him. Again, vertical thruster to keep position with him, not using pits as much as translation. Seals are down, so I use multi-cannon. Again, vertical thruster to keep position. And he's dead.
Target destroyed.
Next in line is an Imperial Courier, another very maneuverable target with insane seals. And well, let's take a look, and again I will comment in the most important parts. As you can see, he's using chaff. This is a really good reason why you want to go with some fixed weapons at least, and not everything gimbal. Also another reason is because it forces you to aim better. Look, this is a perfect instance of translation over rotation. I wasn't pitching up to follow him, I just translated to keep position as he was moving upwards from my point of view. Again, he's moving upwards, I am translating. I am not pitching as much as I'm translating. Vertical and horizontal thrusters are super important in combat. You can see the effects of the chaff, how wild the aim point for the multi-cannon goes because it's gimbal.
Shields offline.
Again, keeping position, mostly through translation, not so much about rotation. However, I'm moving too far away from him, he's facing me, so I go past him. I used a boost turn to regain his back. Now he's going to face me, so I boost past him, flight assist off, use that rotation I told you about to bring my nose up, assist on again. I try to boost, as you can see I'm moving backwards because of my inertia. And the problem of course here is that the capacitor of the eagle isn't not so great to boost several times in consecution. So I do it again, flight assist off,
Flight assist.
flight assist on when I'm behind him, and I keep position again out of his arcs of fire. From then on, it's just a matter of finishing off.
Target destroyed.
Now you saw before what happens when you attack a wing of 2-3 enemies. You don't last very long, unless of course you have a very good ship, much better than their ships. Now I'm in a very small eagle, and yeah, this is a wing of 2 vipers and 1 cobra, and I really want to take them on, but I can't. Obviously, it would destroy me. So what do I do? Well, I'm going to leave the whole sequence so you can see exactly how did I deal with it. I see fire in the distance and I leave these guys alone. Don't think I'm forgetting about them, I just left them alone. Meanwhile, there's another Imperial Eagle here which is wanted, so I move close and I'm going to engage him. And later on you will see what I do with the other guys.
Target shields offline. Target destroyed.
Okay, so this guy is done. What's next? Well, the other guys are still around. They still are 3, I'm still 1. So, what did change? Nothing has changed. Nothing really. But now what I'm going to do is to trail them until they start engaging something else. And then, when they are distracted by other enemies, then is when I move in and I start fighting them. In the full events of things, I actually killed 2 of them. The third one I couldn't because they were killed by system security before I could finish the third one. But, well, actually I could engage the third one. But, well, you'll see the full sequence, so you will see how to deal with these guys. You don't. You let others deal with them, and then you join in. Of course, that doesn't mean just to steal the kills. I mean, just to move in when they are almost dead. I actually fought these guys, but I did so when the turns were in my favor, not when I was totally outnumbered. So let's see the fight. Of course, as soon as you start fighting on a wing, other guys are going to shoot at you. So don't be target focused. If you have to leave your target for a short while, do so. Come later on when you are not in risk. There I was being shot by one of the guys on this wing, but as soon as I was out of trouble, I came in again and I kept on shooting at the guy I was doing so before. Again, note that I use constantly lateral vertical thrusters, yaw, pits. I used all the degrees of freedom a spaceship gives me. If you think in terms of an atmospheric plane has 3 or even 4 degrees of freedom. It can roll, it can pitch, it can yaw, and then it can move forwards faster or slower. It actually can move slower. This is more akin to an helicopter, where you can move both upwards and downwards, leftwards and rightwards. You can move forwards and backwards. You can roll left and right. You can pitch up and down, and you can roll left and right. So it's 6 degrees of full freedom. Also, it's 3-dimensional full. In a helicopter, you can't roll upside down. In this, you can. So think in 3 dimensions and in 6 degrees of freedom, because you can do it all. You can move forwards, backwards. You can translate. You can rotate. You can also use all those degrees of freedom, and you really should if you want to be good in combat.
Target destroyed. Scan
Hopefully,
detected.
this helped you becoming a better fighter pilot and understanding fighting mechanics a little bit better. As everything in life, don't expect to go directly into the first fight you find and do massively well. You gotta try, you gotta fight, you gotta practice. But once you practice a little bit, it will start coming natural to you. It's very fun and rewarding, especially with small ships to go versus bigger ships. And yeah, well, as you can see, in this ship I actually have steel cell banks. I didn't use a single bit of steel cell banks in the whole sequence, and I spent a good amount of fights here, maybe half an hour or so, several fights. Some you have seen, others I could because there was no point in showing them. But the final result, you're about to see it. That was maybe half an hour in an eagle. In a normal resource site. I mean, this wasn't a hazardous or a high intensity. That's half a million. So yeah. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned something watching this video. And as always, thank you very much for watching and see you later. God, this game is great.